Good afternoon. It's a beautiful Sunday and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. Now in a few weeks, it's all going to be about Christmas, end of year, lots of food, celebration in the air. But by the next month, January, I say the fear of school fees will be so real for those who have children, and for most of us, rent. You will agree with me that landlords and landladies across Nigeria, and particularly in Lagos, will be smiling to the bank as the price of rent goes up. A lot of people put their money in real estate because it's something that always goes up and has good returns. But like a double-edged sword, real estate is not immune to some of the problems and challenges. In Lagos State, for example, you'll see some buildings collapse. You'll also see some demolitions going on. And there are lots of questions like, why are these buildings collapsing? What approval did the developer get? And if they're going to be demolished, why now? Why at this stage when the building has been up for such a long time? I mean, these are a lot of questions that are floating around now. To discuss a lot of the demolition that's happening and even the real estate sector in general, I have with me Akpo Ikogo, who is a real estate lawyer. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Nice to be here. Thank you very much.
Now, Akpo, tell me, what do you make of a real estate? Is it still valuable? Is it still something that people should keep their money in? When we're seeing like demolitions happening, we're seeing buildings collapsing.
Okay, well, once again, thanks to be here. Now, the real estate sector, particularly in Lagos, is very valuable. As people say, land is the only thing that is not being produced or cannot be produced in a manner of speaking. So, yes, it is very valuable. But the most important thing to do when trying to go into real estate is to always do your due diligence. The process of due diligence covers sending somebody to the Surveyor General's office, getting a lawyer to do a legal search on the property. It also involves going to the place to see whether there are any markings from government, like if government wants to demolish a place, before they do that, they put notices on the premises. They also sometimes do this big red X on it. So you have to do all that investigation before you go into real estate. Real estate tends to appreciate in value consistently.
It's interesting you say that real estate is something that can be manufactured, but I believe growing up, some of us have seen swamps actually become land, or the ocean become land, and land is being reclaimed. I think in the Lagos State, it's something that we can expect to see more land. But what you said about doing your due diligence, does it mean that the people who were supposed to do the due diligence should be held responsible? Or if they did do their due diligence and they got the okay sign, they got all the documents, why does the government wait till the building has been up for a while before putting that X sign? Is the government not aware when the building is being erected, when there's the foundation stage? Why is it for some cases that it's after a while?
Okay, well, that's a great question, and I treated it in a recent article I did in some online magazine. Now, the first thing I'll tell you is Nigerians tend to not want to do due diligence. They tend to believe what the developers or the sellers or the agents tell them. So in most cases, Nigerians do due diligence. Then also sometimes when you do, in my own personal case, when you do the due diligence and you give a search report, some people will tell you that, oh, they have talked to the developer and government said they're going to regularize the place, they're going to release it back to them, so we should go ahead with that. Now, in those kinds of scenarios, I wash my hands off it. Now, as regards the demolition that was done recently, I tend to believe that everybody shares some blame in it. Now, first of all, the government. I have represented clients before that have had their construction sites shut down. Government is aware of every construction that is going on in Lagos State specifically. So why did they wait till those properties were completed before they brought the properties down? To me, it's an economic waste. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of funds that were used in developing these buildings, and it's just a general waste altogether. The best approach would have been to serve notices and ensure that no construction is done further after these notices have been served on these erring areas.
So government does deserve some of the blame for,
yes, of course. Yes, of course.
For waiting this long.
Yes, they do.
Now, you also put the blame on developers, real estate developers, agents. Is there a way to find a way to certify these people? Because this day and age, we all know someone that is selling land. We all know someone that has gone into real estate, the person has developed a property or so, and all of a sudden they're in the market. Is there some kind of body that regulates the practice of agents and real estate developers?
Well, I believe there's a Real Estate Association of Nigeria. I'm not a member, but I believe there's a Real Estate Association of Nigeria. Now, the onus is on government to regulate them, because it is it is difficult or it's risky to tell an agency to regulate themselves. So, of course, government has to come with their oversight. And as regards the developers that build structures on waterways, on land that was approved for something else by the government, I believe that in addition to bringing the structures down, the government has to prosecute these people for doing the wrong thing. And the people that bought from these developers that had their structures pulled down should find some sort of legal redress against these developers, so this act is not allowed to continue. We can't let the developers and the agents just regulate themselves. Government has to come in, and there must be penalties for this bad behavior. That's my opinion. So
in the past, have we seen people who have gone to court to seek redress and get maybe some kind of compensation? Do we have scapegoats of some of these real estate agents or developers?
Well, funny you should say this. Our office, we are currently in talks with some clients to take some of these developers to court. So, well, we will see how it goes. Of course, we cannot get into the facts of this matter because it's just been brought to us. So, yes, it is very possible to bring a civil claim against them. I also believe, in a manner of speaking, that the government can bring a criminal claim against these developers if they want to do, and I suggest they do that.
And why isn't the government doing that, especially in cases where lives are lost, especially when we see buildings collapse? In some cases, the government has gone ahead to say, okay, everyone should vacate the building. But there are some cases where people still are caught up in this. And why isn't the government taking the lead in doing the right thing?
Well, I believe the Lagos State government acts sometimes, because I am aware of the Lekki Gardens situation then. This was some years ago, where the MD, the CEO of the company was taken to court. So I believe governments act sometimes. We don't now know if they do that all the time. I believe they should, but they act sometimes. I believe there's criminal liability there. So when a building comes down or is pulled down, there is usually a reason behind this. If it is negligence, if it is substandard materials, somebody just needs to bear the brunt for it. So the government has done that in the past.
And as a lawyer, do you find that a lot of people don't want to consult a lawyer because they feel like, I'm going to pay a lot of money and at the end I might not get my money back, or they just don't trust lawyers to deliver?
My general experience has been that Nigerians don't like to pay professionals, not just lawyers. I believe other professions are affected. But to me, it tends to be a situation of being penny wise and pound foolish. It is better to pay whatever negligible fee the lawyer charges to do a proper search on the property than to lose the hundreds of millions later when the property is pulled down or when you are scammed eventually.
Yeah, I think Nigerians are forced when you're getting a place. I know in my experience, you have to pay agency and lawyer and agreement, and some way you have to pay that money before you get a property. So maybe it's something that needs to be built in,
yes,
to make people who want to get into real estate or purchase properties to actually have to follow the due process. Now, I want us to look at real estate, but for the masses. Now, in more developed climes, the mortgage system is something that's it's very popular. People can put a down payment and over 25, 30 years can actually get a house that they can call theirs. But in Nigeria and in Lagos State, it's not as popular. I know the government has tried in the past with some of the Lagos Home Scheme, but even though some of them have been paused, and also we're not seeing enough people getting mortgages. Why is that the case?
Well, I think it's a problem that has a lot of reasons. Now, most Nigerians are low-income households, so can they afford to actually buy properties in the first place? Then properties in Lagos, for example, are usually quite expensive. So then how does a low-income household be able to afford it, even if it's for a long tenure? Then another reason also is that banks tend to give loans, even the mortgage banks, at quite high interest rates. I believe outside Nigeria, in the European countries and the American countries, they give mortgages for very sometimes 0.9% per annum and all that, but Nigerian banks, including the mortgage banks, give at very high interest rates. So eventually it defeats the purpose and it makes buying of the property so expensive. So these different reasons just combine together to make it very difficult. In addition to that, I know about the Lagos Home Scheme. It's quite difficult getting into it. So it is only for a select few.
So what should the government be doing? And are you impressed with the moves some of this newly elected government is doing at the federal level in terms of policy as well as on state level?
And well, at the federal and the state level, I am not aware of any directive or any implementation of the mortgage crisis, basically. That's the issue of getting homes on mortgage. I'm not aware of anything. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done. Firstly, you must make homes available to people, cheap homes. For the low-income households, you must make cheap homes available. Then you must also ensure that the interest rates are quite low, so the property does not become too expensive over a long period. But as regards these two things I mentioned, I'm not aware of any new thing being done.
It's interesting you speak about cost, because I'm thinking about the FCT, and I know I've seen in the news about a flat rate for getting the C of O. Now, I don't know if that is something that people should expect, or I mean, if you have 10 houses, should you be paying the same amount as someone who has maybe a small bungalow? When it comes to all these documentation, because that could also add to the cost of why people are not getting property of their own. Okay, well, in Lagos State, for example, of course, there's no flat rate for getting a CFO. Some certain charges are assessed, and it's usually a proportion of the value of the property. So, for example, you are doing a CFO on a property in Ikorodu, it cannot be the same cost, even though it's the same size of building, it cannot be the same cost as when you are doing a CFO on the property in Ikoyi. So there are variable rates, and I believe that that makes sense, not just a flat rate, because these properties have different values. Now, of course, a property in Ikoyi is not going to command even a percentage of the rent of a property in Ikoyi. So a fixed rate, to me, doesn't really make sense. And finally, what should government be doing? Should they be collaborating with the private sector, with manufacturing companies? What's the solution to the housing problem and housing crisis in Lagos and across Nigeria? Well, it's great that you said this. I believe government has to collaborate with the private sector. And how can they do this? They can do this by providing land, because, under the Land Use Act, the governor of the state is in charge of the land in that state. So by providing land, that is critical. Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Aqua, for joining us on Rubbin Minds. We'll be going on a quick break on the show. Do join us again. I'm ready for your action. Just hold my hand. You should cut off all distraction. It's all on you now. And just give me some reaction. Just welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Before the break, we looked at the real estate sector in Lagos and Nigeria, looking at some of the challenges from demolition of buildings to accessing mortgages. Now we turn the conversation to politics, to the elections. Now, I want you to picture a scenario. A governor has been declared victorious on the ballot sheet, goes ahead to have an inauguration. He or she does appointments, forms a cabinet, and hits the ground running. Now, months later, wait a minute, you're no longer the governor. And that's because some governors in the past and even recently have become victorious in the court. Now, what does this say about INEC? What does this say about our electoral system? And what does it say about managing resources? A lot of resources, a lot of questions. Now, joining me, I have a public affairs analyst in the person of Seun Awogbinle. Seun, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and it's good to see you again.
Good to have you on the program. Now, just recently, a 3-member panel in a unanimous decision on Sunday ruled that the Plateau State governor, that's Caleb Mutfwang, was not validly sponsored by the PDP. So this is coming as the 4th governor to receive such a result. What does that mean? What does that say about our electoral processes? What does it say about INEC and the sanctity of the elections?
Well, I think it's important to actually acknowledge the progress that we've made as a nation. I like to think of nation building as an eternal endeavor. And more so is the fact that you say, for some people, they will describe 60 years as as a short lifespan in the life of the nation. What has to be considered, if you compare it to, to a human being, you most likely will say it's a retirement age. But it's actually important because on the backdrop of the fact that in 2003, it took almost 2 years. Then Muhammadu Buhari against Olusegun Obasanjo just took almost 2 years to eventually dispense with the case in court until it got to the Supreme Court. It was dispensed in, I think, 2005. In 2007, Muhammadu Buhari and Atiku Abubakar against Maru Musa Yar'Adua took another 2 years to dispense with. But you have a situation in which now it takes about 100 plus 60 days, that's a total of 240 days to dispense with presidential election petition in Nigeria. And it takes 180 plus 60 to dispense with a governorship petition.
So I hear you, Sheon, on speed, that what we're recording as progress is the speed in which we're getting judgments. But should we be in this situation? Isn't the electoral cycle enough to declare a valid winner? As a governor, do you sit firmly on that seat, or you have to wait with your heart in your mouth for the courts to rule whether you are truly victorious or not? And what about the wastage that we incur within those 160 or 180 days?
So, I'm actually getting there, and I'm getting there because, it's a functionality of the law. So we have actually had revisions of the electoral law. We had a revision in 2011. We had another revision in 2022. So essentially, it is a provision of the law. And why I've said this is because it then opens, some of the developments that we have now seen opens up a completely new dynamic election management in Nigeria. I'm sure that all the people in the National Assembly have equally seen this. And most of them are beginning to mute the idea about why it is important for us to dispense with election petition before, public servants are actually sworn in Nigeria. But I also quite agree because, first of all, when you have a situation like this, one, it creates mistrust. It becomes very difficult for the petitioner to actually get justice, especially when you are competing against your opponent who already has access to the apparatus of power. Secondly, you also create a situation where it becomes very expensive. The case of Plateau that I have cited is a very, very valuable example. So, if not all the senators in Plateau have been sacked, most of the House of Assembly, most of the House of Reps. And today I was reading about how there are 16 members of the House of Assembly have equally been sacked. Don't forget that these people have been earning salaries between May and this time. So you create a situation where it becomes very expensive. You're not likely to ask them to refund the money. So you're not likely to swear in another set of people who are likely going to go through trainings. They're going to go through onboarding and the rest of them. So it's actually very expensive. And then you also create what you call political instability. And I've always argued that political stability is a major requirement for foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment, and capital inflows. So you are not likely to get capital into an economy that is completely unstable, especially when it is politically unstable. So it becomes also very challenging because we need all the investment that we can get at this time. So it's not healthy for business, it's not healthy for investment, it's equally not healthy for trade because a new president or a new governor would likely come with a completely new ideology. So you have a president who is more liberal in his approach to governance. But don't forget that we had a former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who was a little more conservative and had restrictive trade policies. So it's also about ideology. So you also create political instability, even for the business climate and also for investment climate. Then you also have a situation where politicians can entirely become, even not reckless, relying on technicalities in court to be able to subvert the will of the people.
So sorry to just jump in there. Sorry. I want to build on what you're saying. Do you think that some politicians go into that race with the mindset that I'm going to exploit those technicalities and I'm going to become victorious in court? Is that now a strategy because of the provisions of the law?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree completely. You have a situation in which, some politicians, in fact, go into election believing that they can actually rely on technicality, and it's becoming an entire charade and circus because people want to win via the courts. They no longer want to win via the ballots because they consider themselves, possibly unpopular. So, but it can also be depressing for electorates who believe that sometimes their votes might not count and that the courts would have to decide for them. And we cannot relegate the Nigeria's election to, I'm sorry, but to what you most likely would call a group of judges, who are likely going to sit in court 5 or 7 and then decide the fate of, say, for example, in the case of Nigeria, case of 220 million people. We have to get to a point where, the elections, the sanctity of the elections and the votes of the people would actually count, beyond technicalities. So I do agree that it has actually opened a new dynamics for election management in the country, and that we can get to the point where election petition can at least be dispensed with before you swear in, a governor, or a president, or even members of the National Assembly, or even state assemblies. It becomes very healthy. But like I've said, the work of the nation is not the destination. It is a journey, and we are likely to get there. And I think that the National Assembly they are big policing those challenges, and they might and should rise up to that occasion.
What are your expectations of INEC in all of this? Because the body language is that, and from the reports that have been received, that they performed well during these elections. But if the population or the populace believes that, oh, my votes don't count because someone else is going to be declared winner through the court system, then is INEC doing enough? And then I also would like you to comment on the disruption to the electoral cycle. So we see that while the general elections and the gubernatorial elections are happening on certain days, then months later, all of a sudden, INEC is busy with just one state's elections.
Well, I think that this has less to do with INEC, to be honest, because INEC does not make the law. Members of the National Assembly make the law. So the laws actually emanate from the legislature. And don't also forget that in the process of making a law, you are likely to have what you call public hearings. So we all have input. In fact, the last electoral amendment in 2022, we all had input, especially from members of civil society, which I was also, a fundamental part of. So we all had input, and that's why I'm saying that it's not a journey. I mean, it's not a destination; it's a journey. And when we're all making input into the 2022 electoral amendment, most people do not envisage a situation where we are likely to have people who are entirely relying on technicalities of the court to be able to grab power. But now it has become an obvious reality, right? It's obvious at this point, and I think that whatever we have to do now, whatever amendment we have to do must be targeted in that direction. Also, whatever INEC has done, their only requirement is to go to court to actually defend it. So INEC did not make it takes 180 days for an election tribunal to dispense with their court. It takes 60 days for the Court of Appeal in the case of the governor, and it takes 60 days for the Supreme Court in the case of the governor as well. So INEC didn't make the law. So I don't think that INEC has a lot to do. INEC must only abide by one. So you have when we actually have a situation where the law has been revised, so you might likely have elections holding way before time to provide enough time for the pre and post-election petition to be speedily dispensed with. Right. So that's the only challenge that I see. But I don't think that we're likely to have any situation where INEC has anything to essentially talk about. INEC is only going to be abiding by whatever the court has decided, and that's it.
So as a voter, how confident are you in the election process when you know that technicalities can be exploited? At the end of the day, if Nigerians see that whoever is voted in doesn't always end up in power, then there's likely to be low voter turnout and voter apathy where people don't believe in the process anymore, and it's the highest bidder who can pay the best lawyers or even get the judiciary roped in?
Well, there's even till now, there's nothing that has shaken my faith about about Nigeria. To be honest, I think like I started during my introduction, I think that it is important for us to believe that elections and democracy is a journey. It's not a destination, and we must trust that Nigerians continue to make progress, substantial progress even, and things get better over time. 60 years, 63 years now, might be a lot in the life, in the life of an individual, but in the life of a nation, you are likely to describe Nigeria as a baby nation. Although some would even say that, what about, nations who are equally just around the same, age as Nigeria? But, some children are still learners. I'm sure we would all agree with that. There is nothing, that is shaking my faith. My faith in the electoral process remains unshaken. And I believe that what we all have to do is to continue to trust the process. It gets better with time. And that's why we have actually elected people to go and do the job. Now, the work that we all have to do is to begin to engage members of the parliament to tell them the new direction, what we consider the new direction in terms of election management for the country. And that's what we all have to do. Nigeria is not likely to get better, over time. Nigeria is not likely to get better overnight. It is going to be a continuous and deliberate work of progress. We all have a work to do. We all have to continue to trust in that process.
When you say we all have work to do, for the voter that's watching now, what can they do to engage the legislature to ensure that these electoral laws are reviewed in time for, say, the next elections, and this wastage is curbed? What can be done to ensure that there's less wastage, even as we anticipate the review of these electoral laws?
There's nothing we really can do. The law is the law. At the moment, those who are likely to exploit the law currently, it's their victory. Although it's unfortunate, but there's nothing we can do. And that's what democracy is all about. Sometimes democracy might not go the way we want it, but it's still democracy. And don't forget that one of the most important things that I personally enjoy about democracy is the fact that it is self-correcting. Right? Democracy does correct itself over time. I gave you an analogy painting the scenario of what we had in 2003 and, what we had in 2007 and what we now have in 2023, where election petitions are speedily dispensed with. So, and that's taking us almost 20 years to get here. But I'm sure that how far that we have to travel is not as much as how much we have already traveled. We have to continue to consolidate what we already have. We have to continue to consolidate our democratic ideals. And I think it's even commendable, for most of politicians and public servants, or let me say, for aspirants who ran the last election, that everybody now believes in the power of the courts to actually seek redress, and nobody's taking laws into their hands. And I think that's a fine point. That's a very fine improvement that we have also witnessed. Before now, you are likely to have violence as a result of political outcomes. But you now have a situation where the language of politicians are measured. Politicians continue to mistake even those. For example, in the case of presidential election petition, you have to commend the opposition candidates. Even though the outcome did not go their way, they continue to reiterate their confidence, their maximum belief in democracy, and that's what we all have to do. And I like that they continue to encourage their followers to believe in the power of democracy. And interestingly, if you might, someone I think was President Tinubu who said, if you have not tasted the defeat, you most likely will not understand the joy of victory. I give you an example of the presidential aspirant Peter Obi, who essentially benefited. In fact, what you call by-elections in Nigeria, the governorship off-cycle elections started with, former Governor Peter Obi in 2007, who went to court and eventually got his mandate, right? And essentially, he won at the court. In fact, when he was impeached by the Anambra State House of Assembly, he went back to court and court still restated it. And that's the thing. You may have lost out. So you win some, you lose some, just like in the case of football. So I think that's what we must continue to preach, which is that it's not a winner take all. Sometimes you win some, you lose some, but we must have faith in democracy. Must continue to abide. But like I said, what we have currently is to understand that the new work that we all have to do is to see that we're able to amend our laws and we're able to review our laws to ensure that before people take reins of power, the election petitions are speedily dispensed with. So possibly it might require us to hold the elections a lot more earlier, and then we can have enough time to immediately. But that also opens up another conversation about the welfare of judges. The last time we were talking about how that we need to constitute that the Supreme Court is short of justice. So you have a situation where even in that kind of situation, you need to actually ensure that you take care of judicial officers, and then you probably might have to even expand where necessary. So essentially, it's a layered conversation. It's not a one size fits all, but. The point I think is important to reiterate is that the law is the law, really, regardless of how we feel. Our emotions don't make the law. The laws are essentially they're cast in stone. Justices or judges also just have to interpret the law. Everybody just, and by the way, we all make the law. The people we send to the parliament make the law. So if we made a law in 2010 that no longer serves us, by the way. I think I
want to jump in here. It has to do with the judiciary. So while we wait for things to get better with the judiciary in terms of compensation, in terms of ensuring that we have more judges at the Supreme Court, a lot of Nigerians don't have faith in the judiciary. And some believe that the judiciary is up for sale to the highest bidder. How can we correct that notion?
Oh, no, it's not for me to correct. I think the notion is completely uninformed. It is misguided. And I think that it's unhelpful for anyone to believe in such notion. So I don't even think it's something we should even parrot. I don't think it's something we should parrot on the platform like this one.
All right, sure. We'll have to bring the conversation.
No,
okay, you can just finish that.
I think that judges... Yeah, I think that judges and justices are people that should be quite reasonably beyond reproach, right? And I think that, if you have a situation, for example, let's talk about presidential election.
Unfortunately, we're out of time to go further in this conversation, but thank you for your contribution, Seun Awogbenle. We'll be taking a quick break. Thank you very much for being on the show here on Rubbin Minds.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. We'll be going on a quick break on Rubbin Minds. Please do not go, as we have our entertainment interview coming up right after this break.
I am ready for your action. Just you should cut off all distraction. It's all on you now. And just give me some.
Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now we have on the show a versatile actor, director, producer, a veteran in the Yoruba movie industry. He's also been called a Yoruba movie lover boy. Welcome, Damola Olatunji, to Rubbin Minds.
Oh, good evening. Good to be here.
Good. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Now, being a veteran in the Yoruba movie industry, what will you make of the growth? Do you feel that the Yoruba movies are competing favorably with other language movies as well as the English movies?
Oh, definitely, yes. Because we're not where we used to be. And I can see that in the last 2 years, the acceptance and acceptability around the world has been so overwhelming. So the Yoruba language movie is now, global, and we're so happy about that.
Okay, now you wear several hats. You're an actor, a producer, a director. Which do you love most, and where can we expect your focus to be in the coming years?
Well, my first love have always been acting. So I actually love acting, but I'm a complete entertainer. And as a movie maker, I love directing, I love producing. It all comes on different stages, and there's a particular feel that comes with each stage. Like you're progressing, you start as an actor, okay, now you're a director, you're a producer, and all that. It's growth to me, so I feel happy doing both.
looking out for the Yoruba movie industry, we know of caucuses. How have you been able to navigate your growth, you know, dealing with all the caucuses, and do you belong to one?
No, I don't belong to any. But I will say this. You see, gone are those days when we talk about caucuses in the Yoruba sector. Now everything has been open. The advent of technology has come, and it has come to stay. So that has actually helped the industry to neutralize that. So right now you have every opportunity at your palms. Once you have a mobile phone, you're good to go. And so we have talents coming into the industry every day and every now and then.
So if I wanted to become a Yoruba actress, I don't have to be part of any group. Nobody has to bring me into the industry.
Well, for now, you don't have to. But the only thing you have to do, which I always tell people, is this: it's one thing for you to have a raw talent. It's for another thing for you to brush up your talent, to brush up your skills. And not everybody will have the formal education on movie making and all that, but you can always learn from someone. You can always learn informally and all that. So it's always good when you learn from someone or you go to school to study theater.
So what about you? Did you learn from someone? Did you study theater? Who are the people that you look up to in this industry?
Well, in my case, I studied electrical electronics, and I'm an engineer credentially, but I studied, I understudied Yomi Fashlanso. You know, I was his mentee for some years, and I attended so many seminars and workshops on movie making from ITPAN and so many other seminars and workshops on that. So I used that to brush up my skills and all that. So here I am today.
Okay, and you have young ones that you're working with?
Oh, definitely.
You're mentoring people. Like who?
Oh, well, I can talk of, there's a lady, Portable, I have Khadijat, I have a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you believe in giving back since you've received so much from this industry. Now, what about moving to the English language movies? We see that some of these Yoruba actors and actresses in recent times, they've started spending more time doing more of English movies or English series. Is that something you're considering?
Oh, yes. I have a job coming out very soon, confidential. It's pure English. I produced and directed it. So, and you know, one thing is this: I always tell people you need to, when there's so many roads that leads to success, you just need to find your own zone and take advantage of it and maximize your potential. So we all started wanting to go to the English sector and all that, but when it wasn't the first coming, you have to be like, okay, fine, what else can we do? Okay, coming through the Yoruba and diversify into any other thing you want to go into. So it's acting. To me, as far as I'm concerned, acting has no language. It's all about your expression. It's about how you can deliver, you know, your lines and all that, and how you can take the craft so serious about it. So crossing to the English sector or whatever, is allowed.
So will you say that Yoruba actors, the majority of them are rejects of the English-speaking movies, and it's a plan B for them, and once they do that, they will cross over?
No, they're not rejects of it. You see, like I said there's so many roads that lead to success. So sometimes you just need to sit back. We had people who started from the English generation. We had the likes of Antalania, Funsha Diolu, and Co, and the rest. So it's about what works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. Like people say, oh, Yoruba actor. I'm an actor. I'm not a Yoruba actor. Do you understand? So it's not about the language at which I used or the medium that I used to propagate my work. You understand? So as an actor is an actor, be it Hausa, be it Igbo, be it Yoruba or whatever. But what matters most is understanding the craft and putting in your best into the craft.
Now, you've been dubbed as a lover boy in the movie industry. You're laughing because I believe you agree with me. And you have been, you've been with an actress before. I'm speaking about Aruba. You both have children together. How are you able to marry business with love, and what has been the aftermath of your separation?
Well, you see, love comes anywhere. You can find love anywhere. It doesn't matter whether at your workplace. It doesn't matter where it comes from. But what matters most is having understanding of what you guys are into and how you guys want to handle it. It was a challenging period because you know, we are doing the same work and all that, so we had to leave home almost the same time for the kids and all that. But trust me, we had a wonderful experience. You know, throughout the time we were together was one of the most, you know, brilliant and I'll say joyous moment of my life as well.
If it was so beautiful and joyous, is there any chance of reconciliation to go back to all of that?
Well, in as much as I don't like talking about personal lives and all that, I don't like talking about my personal, issues on screen and all that, but I want to leave that aspect the way it is. I want to leave it to God. I want to leave. If anything happens, fine. And if it doesn't, fine. But I don't want to talk much of that.
But there are people who are watching this and maybe they're in a similar situation. What advice do you have when it comes to co-parenting and being in a relationship with someone from the same sector with the same sort of demands?
Okay, the aspect I'd like to talk about is the co-parenting thing. When you have a relationship with someone and kids are not involved, it's easy for you to say, okay, I can fight dirty, I can go my way and all that. But once kids are involved, those kids are innocent. They were not there when you started. And you have to just respect yourself and respect the kids. So no matter what you want to do, you must put those kids first. Co-parenting is one thing that if you find yourself in that shoes, you just must make sure that the kids are the priority. And that's what I've done.
But how are you able to manage the attention being on the screen and this female attention? I know you don't want to go into it, but a lot of these people who are in relationships with other movie makers, a lot of times infidelity claims fly around, accusations here and there. You're late on set, there's an affair that started maybe from a kissing role, all of that. So how are you able to ensure you're not entangled? Okay,
there's always a thin line between everything. So once you know the gauge and the thin line, you don't cross it. Now, I say this every time I have an opportunity to talk to people and all that. I say, once you sign in to be an actor, you're losing your privacy. The moment you agree to do certain job and all that, there's something that comes with it. So all those attention comes with the job. As an actor, you have female admirers more. As a female actor, you have male admirers more. And one thing is there's a power that comes with TV. It attracts both the positive and the negative aspect. People see you on screen and be like, wow, I like this guy. And people just say, like, I don't like this guy, he's proud. They've never met you before, they don't even know you. They don't even know the kind of person you are, but seeing you on TV, be like, it looks proud and it's proud. Or probably you acted the movie and you played the proud person and said, it's proud. So there's power that comes with TV. So being an actor, you need to understand the fact that TV will attract people to you, mostly the negative people. That's why they'll say, oh, actors don't stay in their husbands' house and all that. It comes to the job. People come into relationship with you for different reasons. Even sometimes when you're trying to be sincere with them, they are being strategic with you. So you can't rule it out. You just need to be careful and just, monitor your footsteps, that's all.
So have you had those kind of relationships in the past where people just came to you because of what they saw on the screen?
Oh, definitely, yes. Definitely, both male and female. Yeah, sure.
Okay. When we look at actors and the positioning in society, actors are expected to help people. So how do you manage that? Maybe you go somewhere, boys and girls are after you, maybe they want money. Do you always have cash to give them? Or are you always signing things? Or how do you deal with that? Well,
you see, our society is such that people expect too much from you. Forgetting the fact that you're just a normal person like them, you buy the same fuel, the same price they buy theirs and all that, and you apply the same role they're applying. So people they see you as a supernatural person and all that. So, but like I said earlier, it comes with the job. You have to just understand that, okay, sometimes you just have to be at your best at all times. Oh, okay. Sometimes that might be the only opportunity that person has to see you. And so when they come,
always about being at your best.
Exactly.
Now, what next can we expect from you? You've spoken a lot about acting, directing. What's in the plans? Do you have something for us coming out?
Oh yes, something is coming up on the 22nd of December. It's coming to the cinema. It's a movie I directed.
What's it called?
Ogere.
And what's it about?
Yeah, Ogere is a love story. It's a love story that talks about love and deceit and all that, and how it affects our society and all that. So it's a movie produced by Lale Diebong, a co-director on the set as well, and we are taking it to the cinema. We're just trying to change the narrative of movie making in Nigeria. Over the years, we've seen people coming with their movies to the cinema and all that, and people felt, okay, some set of people are actually monopolizing that sector and all that.
So who are the stars there? Do you also act? Or,
yeah, I act.
So you're acting and directing. So who are the big stars, or are we expecting to see new faces?
Oh yeah, that's one funny thing about Ogere. Ogere has a combination of the old actors, the veterans. We have the young recent actors, and we have new faces in Ogere. We have the likes of Rotimi Salami, we have the likes of Jide Kusoko, Iyawero, we have Claron Chukura, we have Kwijo Gumola, we have Aderu Poko and all that, and we have some new faces like Yamofu, like Shushu and all that. So these are new, vibrant actors. To me, I believe that...
so we're seeing a mix of both old and new faces. Now, a lot of people sometimes question when they see the same name as the actor, the producer, the director, the writer. Do you feel that affects the creativity process, or is that down to budget, or people are talented in equal measures across different disciplines?
Well, it depends on who and how they're taking it. Like in this case, I am a director on Ogere. I'm not the producer. So we have a producer who's also a co-director, but it's always good when it's called division of labor. Do you understand? But it's not possible you are the cinematographer, you are the sound recordist. That's not very possible.
But you can be the writer, the producer, the director, the star actor.
Yeah.
That's like 4 different disciplines.
You can, actually. Is
that good?
It's going to be very draining to you. Do you understand?
Do you like that when you...
I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it. I like sharing.
Well, a lot of your colleagues do that, maybe to save costs, where they are the ones who are in charge of everything.
Well, if they feel comfortable doing it, but what I know is it's always good when you have other people's ideas on the same job. People come with their own creativity. You pick from here, you pick from there, and you join it together. It gives you better leverage. Do you understand? So as a director, you are the general overseer of the movie. Do you understand? You still go back to the studio, you still see the rushes, you see the curtains and all that. So you still have the power to cut what you want and what you don't want. So it's always good when you give out jobs to people to do.
Yes, I think they say variety is the spice of life, and everybody brings in their own experience. Now to Ogere, you've told us to expect a mix of the stars, old and new faces. So beyond the cinema, what plans do you have? Are you going to TV? Are you considering some of the streaming platforms? We know we don't do DVDs anymore, but what's your plan beyond the cinema?
Like I said, Ogere is an experimental masterpiece. And already we've taken Ogere to some festivals and all that, and Ogere has already started winning awards even before release. And so we intend to just after the release, we want to take it to some VODs and all that, and bring it on platforms and all that for people to see and to appreciate. I believe that movies don't make actors. Actors make movies. So the days of having some particular faces stick to your to the screen or the big screen is over. Let's bring new faces. Let's bring fresh faces. Let's bring people who have talents. Nigeria is a country where we have so many talented people, and they are all out there waiting and clamoring for the opportunity. So that's what we did with Ogere. A lot of people call me and say, Tamala, why you guys be filming a movie with such huge budget, and you're using some faces and blah, blah.
When you say huge budget, multiple locations?
Multiple locations, yeah.
Okay.
Multiple locations. Sometimes we have to construct the set and all that, and we shot for almost a month. We had our pre-production plans and all that, and it was our technicality, the picture quality when you see it. It's
so we shouldn't expect a regular Yoruba movie.
No.
This is different.
Different.
Okay.
I can beat my chest to that.
All right. Thank you very much, Damola Olatunji, and
welcome.
all the best with Ogere, the premiere and the distribution.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And that is where we will be wrapping up the conversation. Remember, you can follow the conversation online on Twitter using the hashtag #RubbinMinds. My name is Isabella Adediji. Do have a good afternoon.
And just give me some reaction.